Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you must make a choice to honor the person you are becoming or to stay stuck in patterns that no longer serve your growth. This decision isn't easy. It demands courage, clarity, and above all, respect for yourself. Self-respect is the foundation of personal growth and emotional well-being. It is not just about how we perceive ourselves in terms of achievements or success, but more about the internal belief in our own worth, values, and ability to navigate life's challenges. When we respect ourselves, we treat our own needs, desires, and boundaries with care, and we stand firm in our convictions. This sense of respect forms the very core of our interactions with the world and influences how we relate to others, how we manage challenges, and how we approach growth. Respecting yourself starts with understanding your own value. Many people spend years seeking validation from external sources, be it from family, friends, colleagues, or society. We may look for approval in our accomplishments, appearances, or soul standing. But the truth is that self-respect comes not from how others see us, but from how we see ourselves. It begins with acknowledging that we are worthy of love, success, happiness, and peace simply because we exist. This kind of respect does not require others to affirm it. It is a deep inner recognition of our inherent worth. When we cultivate self-respect, we also develop the capacity to recognize our own needs. Often we prioritize the needs of others, sometimes at the cost of our own well-being. We may go along with something that doesn't feel right, simply to avoid conflict or to be liked. However, self-respect demands that we listen to our inner voice and trust our feelings. It encourages us to be honest about what we need to feel safe, supported, and nurtured. When we begin to prioritize our own emotional and mental health, we are in a better position to contribute positively to the lives of others. Self-respect is not just about setting boundaries, but also about knowing when to enforce them. Boundaries are a reflection of what we are willing to tolerate in our lives. When we respect ourselves, we understand that we do not have to accept situations, behaviors, or relationships that diminish our value or harm our emotional state. We recognize that we deserve environments where we can thrive, not merely survive. The act of setting and maintaining healthy boundaries may require discomfort, as it can sometimes lead to difficult conversations or the need to walk away from people or situations that no longer serve us. But when we respect ourselves, we understand that saying no is not an act of selfishness, but an act of self-care. Another aspect of self-respect is the way we speak to ourselves. Our inner dialogue has the power to shape our reality. If we continuously criticize ourselves or entertain self-doubt, we will undermine our own sense of worth. On the other hand, when we cultivate a kind and supportive inner voice, we reinforce our self-respect. Speaking to ourselves with compassion and understanding helps us navigate difficult moments with grace. It reminds us that we are human, that we make mistakes, but that these mistakes do not define our value. Our self-talk must align with the belief that we are deserving of happiness and fulfillment, regardless of setbacks or challenges. Self-respect also means taking responsibility for our own lives. It is the recognition that we are in control of our choices and actions. While we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond to situations and how we shape our future. This sense of ownership over our lives empowers us to make decisions based on our highest good. We stop blaming others or circumstances for where we are and instead take proactive steps to create the life we desire. When we respect ourselves, we do not wait for external forces to change our situation. We take initiative and start with ourselves. It's important to understand that self-respect is not a static state, but a continuous practice. It requires self-awareness, ongoing reflection, and an openness to learning and growth. As we evolve, so too does our understanding of what it means to respect ourselves. We may discover new values, priorities, and desires that call for a shift in how we relate to ourselves and others. This process is dynamic and requires us to be kind to ourselves as we navigate the ups and downs of life. We must be willing to reevaluate our beliefs and habits and let go of what no longer serves us in order to continue evolving into the best version of ourselves. Self-respect is the bedrock upon which a healthy and fulfilling life is built. It influences how we approach relationships, handle challenges, and achieve success. By respecting ourselves, we send a clear message to the world that we are worthy of love, respect, and kindness. And as we cultivate this internal sense of worth, we begin to see the world around us reflect that same respect. The more we honor ourselves, the more we create an environment where others are also encouraged to respect us, fostering healthier, more empowering connections with those around us. Ultimately, self-respect is a lifelong practice that helps us stay grounded, aligned with our values, and open to the possibility of a life that reflects our truest potential. The energy we project into the world is a direct reflection of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Every experience, every moment of our lives sends out a frequency that influences not only how we feel about ourselves, but also how we attract or repel situations and people. This idea of energy alignment is essential to understanding how self-respect plays a critical role in our overall well-being. When we are aligned with our true self, our values, our beliefs, our highest aspirations, we are in harmony with the energy around us. We exude a sense of confidence, peace, and authenticity that draws in positive outcomes. On the other hand, when we disregard our own values, when we engage in behaviors or stay in situations that conflict with our integrity, we disrupt that energy alignment. This misalignment can lead to feelings of frustration, resentment, and even physical discomfort as the energy we emit becomes chaotic and out of balance. The key to understanding energy alignment lies in the recognition that everything in the universe operates on a frequency. We, as human beings, are no exception. Our thoughts create electromagnetic signals that influence our bodies and the world around us. Negative or self-limiting thoughts, such as fear, doubt, or anger, produce a lower vibrational energy, whereas positive and empowering thoughts such as love, gratitude, and joy create a higher vibrational energy. When our thoughts are in alignment with our desires, when we believe in our worth and potential, our energy is expansive, and we magnetize the opportunities and people that resonate with that frequency. However, if we continually expose ourselves to toxic situations, relationships, or environments that drain our energy or make us feel less than we are, our vibrational frequency lowers, making it harder to attract positive experiences and achieve our goals. When we stay in a toxic relationship or an unhealthy work environment out of fear of confrontation or insecurity, we are not respecting our energy. We might tell ourselves that we are capable of enduring the situation or that we can change things if we just try harder. But in reality, the more we allow these situations to persist, the more our energy becomes compromised. The constant internal conflict, the emotional drain, the misalignment between who we are and what we are accepting, all of this contributes to an energetic imbalance. Over time, this misalignment can manifest as stress, anxiety, fatigue, and even physical illness, as our bodies respond to the ongoing dissonance between our internal state and external circumstances. The key to shifting this energy is to recognize that we always have the power to make choices. We are not helpless in these situations. Walking away from what no longer serves us is an act of self-respect that realigns our energy with our higher self. It is about making a conscious decision to stop tolerating things that cause us harm or diminish our sense of self-worth. When we walk away, we are essentially saying, I choose peace, I choose alignment, I choose my own well-being over this situation that is no longer in harmony with my true self. Energy alignment is not just about what we do externally, but also how we manage our inner world. The thoughts we think, the emotions we feel, and the choices we make all contribute to the energy we emit. Our mindset plays a crucial role in how we align with the energy we wish to attract. If we constantly dwell on negative thoughts, feel undeserving of success, or remain stuck in past trauma, our energy will mirror these patterns. However, if we actively choose to cultivate a mindset of abundance, gratitude, and self-love, our energy shifts to match these higher frequencies. This shift in energy helps us attract people, opportunities, and experiences that are aligned with our best interests. Aligning our energy with our true self requires self-awareness and a commitment to personal growth. We must learn to recognize when our energy feels off, when we are out of alignment, and when we are compromising our values. This requires a deep level of honesty with ourselves. It means acknowledging when something or someone is draining our energy, when a situation is not resonating with our authentic self, and when we need to make a change in order to restore balance. It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we are powerless or that our circumstances define us, but true power lies in the ability to make conscious choices that honor our values and protect our energy. When we align our energy with what truly serves us, when we make choices that are in harmony with our authentic selves, we experience a profound sense of peace and empowerment. Our thoughts and actions become more intentional, and our lives begin to flow with greater ease and purpose. We attract the people, opportunities, and resources that support our highest vision. In this state of alignment, we are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances or other people's expectations. We are living from a place of integrity, and our energy naturally reflects this. The concept of energy alignment is about creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. It is about understanding that we are constantly sending out vibrations that influence not only our own lives, but the world around us. When we respect ourselves enough to stay aligned with our true energy, we open the door to unlimited possibilities, creating a life that is both peaceful and prosperous. Boundaries are an essential aspect of self-respect because they define the limits of what we are willing to accept in our lives. They are not rigid walls, but flexible lines that protect our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. When we set boundaries, we are communicating clearly to others and to ourselves what is acceptable behavior, what we need in order to thrive, and what we are unwilling to tolerate. However, many of us struggle with boundary setting, often because we fear rejection, conflict, or being misunderstood. We may find it difficult to say no, to assert our needs, or to walk away from situations that don't serve us. But boundaries are not about being harsh or rigid. They are about creating a space where we can feel safe, respected, and aligned with our values. When we respect ourselves enough to set and maintain healthy boundaries, we take control of our emotional energy and open the door to healthier relationships and more fulfilling experiences. The process of setting boundaries starts with self-awareness. In order to understand where our boundaries need to be drawn, we must first know what our values are and what is non-negotiable for us. Our values form the foundation of our boundaries. If we value honesty, for example, we will not tolerate dishonesty in our relationships. If we value respect, we will not accept being treated with disrespect. The clearer we are about our values, the easier it becomes to identify situations where our boundaries need to be enforced. Self-respect demands that we honor these values even when it is uncomfortable or difficult. When we are in alignment with our values, we are more likely to attract people and situations that support us, and we are less likely to allow ourselves to be pulled into negative or toxic environments. One of the most challenging aspects of boundary setting is learning to say no. For many of us, saying no feels like an act of rejection or selfishness. We may worry that others will be upset with us or that we will be perceived as rude, difficult, or uncaring. But the truth is that saying no is an essential skill for self-preservation. It allows us to protect our time, energy, and emotional resources. When we say no to something that isn't in alignment with our values or that doesn't contribute to our well-being, we are essentially saying yes to ourselves. We are affirming our worth and demonstrating that we respect ourselves enough to honor our own needs. In fact, saying no can be one of the most powerful ways to assert our boundaries and create the space for the things that truly matter. It's important to remember that setting boundaries does not always mean cutting people out of our lives completely. Sometimes it simply means adjusting the way we interact with them. For example, if someone consistently takes up too much of our time or energy, we can establish clear limits on when and how we engage with them. If a person continually disrespects us, we can set boundaries around how we allow them to treat us. Boundaries also involve self-care practices such as prioritizing our own health and well-being over obligations or expectations from others. These boundaries are not about rejecting people, but about creating an environment where we can thrive. In relationships, boundaries may look like expressing our needs for space, limiting how much we are willing to give emotionally, or communicating our expectations clearly. By setting these boundaries, we show others how we expect to be treated and provide them with the opportunity to meet us where we are. In turn, this creates mutual respect and understanding. When we set healthy boundaries, we also need to be prepared for resistance, especially from people who are used to us being more accommodating. Setting boundaries can trigger discomfort in others, as they may feel entitled to our time, attention, or energy. It is important to remember that this discomfort is not a reflection of our worth, but rather an indication that we are asserting ourselves in a way that may be unfamiliar to others. In these moments, it's essential to stay firm in our commitment to self-respect. We can stand by our boundaries with compassion, but without compromising our needs. It's okay to communicate that we need time for ourselves, that we cannot take on more responsibilities, or that we need to protect our emotional space. People who truly respect us will understand and accept our boundaries, while those who do not may push back or attempt to manipulate us. The key is to stay grounded in our values and maintain our sense of self-worth, regardless of external reactions. An important aspect of boundary setting is recognizing that boundaries are not just about protecting ourselves from others, but also about managing our internal world. We need to set boundaries around our own thoughts, behaviors, and habits. For example, if we find ourselves consistently engaging in negative self-talk or self-sabotaging behaviors, we must set boundaries around those thoughts and replace them with healthier, more constructive beliefs. Self-respect demands that we take responsibility for our mental and emotional well-being, and that includes establishing boundaries around the ways we treat ourselves. This may involve setting limits on how much time we spend in self-criticism or guilt and making room for self-compassion, forgiveness, and growth. Boundaries are a form of self-love and self-respect. They empower us to take control of our lives and our experiences. When we set boundaries, we are creating the conditions for peace, authenticity, and alignment with our true selves. By respecting our own limits, we send a clear message to the world that we value ourselves and that we are worthy of love, respect, and kindness. As we grow in our ability to set and uphold boundaries, we cultivate a life that reflects our highest values and supports our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. In turn, this leads to deeper, more meaningful relationships, greater personal fulfillment, and an overall sense of empowerment. Emotions are a powerful part of our human experience, and they play a significant role in how we navigate the world. However, we often find ourselves overwhelmed or controlled by our emotions, especially in difficult or stressful situations. In these moments, it's crucial to remember that we have the ability to detach from our emotions, observe them without judgment, and respond in ways that align with our highest self. Emotional detachment does not mean suppressing or ignoring our feelings. Rather, it is the practice of creating a healthy distance between ourselves and our emotions, allowing us to respond with clarity and wisdom rather than reacting out of impulse or fear. By learning to observe our emotions instead of becoming enmeshed with them, we reclaim our power and increase our ability to make decisions based on reason, not emotional reactivity. The first step in emotional detachment is awareness. Often we are unaware of how our emotions are influencing our behavior. For example, when we feel angry, anxious, or hurt, we might lash out or make impulsive decisions that we later regret. These reactions are driven by the intense feelings we experience, and in that moment, our emotions can cloud our judgment. Emotional detachment, however, requires us to take a step back and notice what we are feeling. Rather than allowing the emotion to dictate our response, we observe it as if we were an impartial observer. This shift in perspective is transformative. When we become aware of our emotions without being consumed by them, we create space for a more thoughtful and intentional response. This practice is rooted in mindfulness, the ability to be fully present with whatever is happening in the moment without judgment. Mindfulness allows us to acknowledge our emotions such as anger, sadness, or fear without letting them control our actions. We recognize the emotion, feel it in our body, and observe its presence without allowing it to overwhelm us. Instead of reacting impulsively or letting the emotion define us, we take a moment to pause, breathe, and choose how we want to respond. This pause creates space between stimulus and reaction, and it is in that space that we can make conscious choices that align with our values and intentions. An essential component of emotional detachment is the understanding that emotions are temporary. While emotions can feel intense in the moment, they do not define us, nor do they last forever. When we become entangled in our emotions, it's easy to believe that they will persist indefinitely, leading us to act from a place of fear or urgency. However, by acknowledging that emotions are transient, we can allow them to pass without attaching any judgment or story to them. For example, when we experience anger, we might be tempted to hold on to it thinking that it is justified or that it will somehow give us power. But when we practice emotional detachment, we recognize that anger is just an emotion, a temporary feeling that will eventually subside. By allowing the emotion to be there without clinging to it, we free ourselves from its grip and maintain our emotional balance. Learning to detach from our emotions also helps us to avoid the cycle of emotional reactivity that can often lead to negative consequences. When we react impulsively based on emotion, we may say or do things we don't mean, and we may create unnecessary conflict in our relationships. For example, when we feel hurt or frustrated, we might lash out in anger, saying things we later regret. Emotional detachment, however, empowers us to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting. It allows us to pause, reflect, and choose a response that is in alignment with our values and our higher self. By doing so, we protect ourselves from making decisions that are based on temporary emotional states and instead act in ways that promote peace, understanding, and personal growth. Detaching from our emotions is not about denying or suppressing them. It is about learning to acknowledge them without being controlled by them. It's about recognizing that we are not our emotions, they are simply experiences that come and go. By allowing ourselves to feel our emotions fully and then letting them pass without judgment, we create emotional resilience. This resilience enables us to face challenges with greater calmness and clarity, making it easier to navigate difficult situations with grace and confidence. Emotional detachment involves developing the ability to separate the emotion from the situation or event that triggered it. This means understanding that our emotional responses are often influenced by past experiences, fears, or beliefs that may not be relevant to the present moment. For example, if we feel threatened or disrespected by someone, our reaction may be influenced by past experiences of feeling neglected or unappreciated. By detaching emotionally, we recognize that the current situation is separate from our past, and we are free to respond based on what is truly happening, rather than reacting from a place of past wounds. Emotional detachment gives us the freedom to live more consciously. It allows us to take control of our emotions rather than being controlled by them. By observing our emotions without judgment, we can choose how we respond to them, creating a sense of inner peace and emotional balance. This practice enhances our ability to make decisions that align with our authentic self rather than being driven by impulse or emotional reaction. It empowers us to step into our personal power and become the creators of our own experience, rather than being subject to the fluctuations of our emotional states. When we practice emotional detachment, we move from a place of reactivity to a place of mindfulness where we are fully aware of our emotions but not ruled by them. This shift allows us to create a life that is intentional, grounded, and in alignment with our deepest values and desires. Taking responsibility for our own lives is one of the most empowering decisions we can make. It is a powerful expression of self-respect and plays a crucial role in our ability to create the lives we desire. Responsibility is not about blame or guilt, but rather about ownership and accountability for our choices, actions, and responses. When we take responsibility for our lives, we acknowledge that we have the power to shape our experiences, regardless of external circumstances. This shift in perspective is liberating, as it removes the victim mentality and places us firmly in control of our destiny. The first step in taking responsibility is recognizing that we are the creators of our experiences. While we cannot control everything that happens to us, we always have control over how we respond to what life presents. Life is filled with challenges, setbacks, and moments of uncertainty, but when we take responsibility, we stop blaming external forces for our struggles. Instead, we accept that our responses to those struggles determine the course of our lives. For example, if we encounter a difficult situation at work or in a relationship, we may not be able to control the actions of others. However, we can choose how we react, how we communicate, and how we navigate the situation. By taking responsibility for our responses, we move from a place of helplessness to one of empowerment. This mindset shift requires us to let go of the tendency to blame others or external circumstances for our difficulties. Blaming others may provide temporary relief, but it keeps us trapped in a cycle of victimhood where we feel powerless and disempowered. When we blame others, we're essentially giving away our power, allowing external circumstances to dictate our emotional state and well-being. On the other hand, when we take responsibility, we reclaim that power. We recognize that our emotions and experiences are a direct result of the choices we make, and by taking ownership of those choices, we can begin to make more conscious decisions that lead to greater fulfillment and growth. Taking responsibility also involves understanding that we are not victims of our past. While our past experiences may have shaped who we are today, they do not have to define our future. We may have faced difficult circumstances, made mistakes, or experienced trauma, but when we take responsibility for our lives, we choose to no longer let those past experiences control us. We can learn from them, heal from them, and use them as stepping stones toward a better future. This is a critical part of personal growth, moving from a place of blame and resentment to a place of acceptance and empowerment. By taking responsibility for our healing and growth, we create the opportunity to transform our lives and free ourselves from the limitations of our past. Another aspect of taking responsibility is recognizing that our beliefs and mindset play a significant role in shaping our reality. Our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings drive our actions. If we believe that we are not capable, deserving, or worthy of success, we will unconsciously make choices that align with those beliefs. Conversely, if we believe that we have the power to create the life we desire, we will make choices that align with that belief. Taking responsibility for our mindset means becoming aware of the thoughts and beliefs that are shaping our experiences and actively choosing to replace those that are limiting with ones that are empowering. This shift in thinking is not always easy, but it is essential for creating lasting change. When we take responsibility for our mindset, we are no longer at the mercy of negative thoughts or self-doubt. Instead, we become the creators of our thoughts and beliefs, and in turn, we create the reality we desire. Taking responsibility also involves embracing personal growth and development. It means committing to lifelong learning, self-improvement, and the pursuit of our highest potential. When we take responsibility for our growth, we stop waiting for external circumstances or other people to change in order for us to be happy or successful. Instead, we recognize that we are the ones who must take action in order to achieve our goals. This requires courage, determination, and a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones. It also requires us to be honest with ourselves about our strengths and weaknesses, and to be willing to take responsibility for the areas of our lives where we need to improve. Personal growth is a continuous journey, and taking responsibility means committing to that journey, no matter how challenging it may be. Taking responsibility for our lives involves understanding that we are not alone in this journey. While we are ultimately responsible for our own choices and actions, we are also interconnected with others. Taking responsibility means recognizing the impact we have on those around us and being mindful of how our actions, words, and energy affect others. It also means accepting responsibility for our role in the relationships we have. If we want to improve our relationships, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, we must take responsibility for how we show up in those relationships. This may involve taking ownership of past mistakes, apologizing, and making amends. It may also involve setting healthy boundaries and communicating openly and honestly. By taking responsibility for our relationships, we create a foundation of trust, respect, and mutual growth. Taking responsibility for our lives is an act of self-respect. It is about acknowledging our power, accepting our role as the creator of our experiences, and committing to the process of growth and transformation. When we take responsibility, we stop waiting for others or circumstances to change in order for us to be happy. Instead, we realize that our happiness and success are in our hands. This mindset shift is transformative as it empowers us to make conscious choices, take deliberate actions, and create a life that reflects our highest values and aspirations. Taking responsibility is not about perfection or having all the answers. It is about the willingness to learn, grow, and embrace the challenges and opportunities that life presents. By doing so, we create a life that is aligned with our true selves and filled with purpose, fulfillment, and joy. When we respect ourselves enough to walk away from situations that no longer serve us, we open the door to new opportunities for growth, healing, and transformation. Walking away is often seen as an act of courage, but it is also an act of self-preservation. Many of us find ourselves stuck in toxic relationships, unfulfilling jobs, or negative environments because we are afraid of change, fear the unknown, or believe that we must endure discomfort in order to be loyal or responsible. However, when we make the decision to walk away from what no longer aligns with our highest good, we take control of our lives and create space for something better to emerge. The act of walking away is not about giving up or being weak. It is about recognizing when a situation is draining our energy or holding us back from becoming the person we are meant to be. It's about having the self-awareness to acknowledge when something or someone is no longer in alignment with our values, goals, or well-being. It is a conscious decision to release what is not serving us and to honor our own worth. Walking away requires a certain level of emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize when staying in a particular situation is doing more harm than good, and the wisdom to let go in order to create room for new, positive experiences. We fear walking away because we worry about the consequences. We may fear the judgment of others, the loss of stability, or the uncertainty that comes with change. However, the truth is that staying in situations that no longer serve us often causes greater long-term harm than walking away would. Toxic relationships, for example, can erode our self-esteem, drain our energy, and leave us feeling emotionally depleted. Similarly, staying in a job or environment that doesn't align with our values or passions can lead to burnout, frustration, and a sense of unfulfillment. While it may feel difficult or uncomfortable in the short term, walking away from these situations is a powerful act of self-respect. It is a declaration that we value ourselves enough to seek better, that we are worthy of peace, happiness, and alignment. Walking away also means letting go of the belief that we have to fix or change others. In many situations, we find ourselves in relationships or environments where we feel compelled to stay because we believe we can help, heal, or change the people around us. While it is natural to want to help others, it is important to recognize that we cannot change people who are not ready to change themselves. When we try to fix others or make them conform to our expectations, we are often sacrificing our own peace and well-being in the process. Walking away allows us to release this burden and recognize that our primary responsibility is to ourselves. We can love and care for others, but we cannot sacrifice our own happiness or well-being in the process. It's also important to understand that walking away does not mean we are abandoning anyone. It means that we are choosing to step into a new chapter of our own life, one that supports our growth, happiness, and peace of mind. In some cases, walking away may even inspire others to make positive changes in their own lives. When we demonstrate the courage to walk away from unhealthy situations, we send a message that self-respect and personal growth are essential. It is not our job to stay in a situation for the benefit of others, especially when that situation is no longer serving our highest good. By walking away, we give ourselves the freedom to evolve, and we create the space for others to do the same. The decision to walk away is also an act of self-care. It is about recognizing when something is no longer bringing us joy, peace, or fulfillment, and choosing to prioritize our well-being. Self-care involves taking the necessary steps to protect our emotional, mental, and physical health, and sometimes that means walking away from situations, people, or environments that are harmful to us. It is not selfish to prioritize our own needs. In fact, it is a necessary part of maintaining balance and harmony in our lives. When we choose to walk away from something that is draining our energy or compromising our well-being, we are affirming our commitment to self-love and self-respect. We are sending a message to ourselves and the world that we are worthy of peace, happiness, and fulfillment. Another aspect of walking away is the realization that change is often necessary for growth. Staying in a stagnant or negative situation may feel familiar, but it can also keep us stuck in patterns of limitation and dissatisfaction. Growth requires movement, change, and a willingness to step into the unknown. When we walk away from something that is no longer serving us, we open the door to new possibilities and new opportunities. We may not always know what lies ahead, but by trusting in ourselves and our ability to create the life we desire, we can embrace the uncertainty of change with confidence. Walking away, in this sense, is an act of faith in ourselves, in our ability to navigate change, and in the belief that better things are waiting for us on the other side. It is also essential to recognize that walking away is a process, not a one-time event. It is a continual practice of honoring our needs, our values, and our worth. There may be times when we need to walk away from small situations or people, and other times when we need to make larger life changes. Each decision to walk away builds our sense of empowerment and strengthens our commitment to self-respect. It is through these continual choices that we create a life that is aligned with our authentic self, one that reflects our highest potential and desires. The act of walking away is a powerful reminder that we are the authors of our own stories. We have the power to choose what we allow into our lives and what we choose to leave behind. When we respect ourselves enough to walk away from situations that no longer serve us, we are asserting our right to live a life that is authentic, fulfilling, and in alignment with our values. Walking away is not about escaping, it is about moving towards something better, something that nurtures our growth and supports our highest good. It is an act of profound self-respect and a declaration of our worthiness to live a life of peace, joy, and purpose. In conclusion, the power of self-respect and the courage to walk away from situations that no longer serve us cannot be overstated. By respecting ourselves enough to make the conscious decision to detach from toxic environments, relationships, or circumstances, we create the space for growth, healing, and transformation. This journey requires us to be self-aware, mindful of our emotions, and responsible for our choices. It involves recognizing that we are the creators of our own lives and that we have the power to shape our reality by letting go of what no longer aligns with our highest good. Walking away is not a sign of weakness or failure, but a profound act of self-preservation and empowerment. It is about honoring our worth, embracing change, and choosing to step into a life that supports our values, happiness, and well-being. It requires the wisdom to understand that by letting go of the things that drain us, we open ourselves up to new opportunities that are more in line with our true selves. As we move through life, we must remember that self-respect is the foundation of a fulfilling, meaningful existence. By respecting ourselves enough to walk away when necessary, we take charge of our own destiny and create a life that is not dictated by fear, doubt, or external expectations, but by our own choices in alignment with our deepest values. This act of self-love, self-care, and personal responsibility ultimately allows us to live a life that is authentic, empowering, and full of possibility.